Hey, welcome to Dynamic Team Leadership Theory and Development. I'm your professor, Jared Baldwin. As you're watching this, you already knew that. But wanted to talk a little bit about leadership, specifically within a team, and looking at it from a corporate point of view. Before I do, I know you're already working on this for Friday. If you're watching this in real time, some of you have contacted me because you might have forgotten what company you were assigned. So hopefully you're already working on that. That's going to lead to our discussion on Friday. We've been mentioning the 5 C's of team performance, which comes from our Beyond Team Building book. I'm not going to talk about that today, but context, composition, competencies, change, collaborative leadership. We'll be talking about that a little more as the upcoming weeks progress. But today, this is the first time I've done a pre-recorded Zoom meeting. This is for your instruction, for you to watch through and be able to comment on, and then this is going to inform our discussion. This might also help you a little bit with what you're putting together for your research, your personal research on the company you were assigned. So I want to do a little share screen with you here and talk you through 2 things that I found that were really helpful. And so I want to show you first Glassdoor. If you've ever applied for a job in a city like Des Moines, for example, Glassdoor Jobs is one of the big recruiting job posting websites, and they have all kinds of good stuff. And if you're ever looking for a job, you can post your resume on Glassdoor, things like that. And you can set little alerts with Glassdoor. It's kind of like Indeed. They might even cross-utilize each other if you're looking for work. But I want to talk about this, and I'm just going to walk through this study as well as one from Forbes magazine to talk about which workplace factors drive employee satisfaction around the world. So as you're looking at what makes the company you've been assigned so great, this might help you be thinking about different categories. So, and this is not just the US, but we're also going to look at some of the factors that impact other countries as well when they look at good companies to work for. So key findings from this study: what matters to employees is similar in every country. So doesn't matter where you live, in the countries they examined, which were European countries and America. Culture and values of the organization, quality of senior leadership, and access to career opportunities within the organization are 3 things that kept rising to the top for people when they're looking for a company that they really want to work for, factors driving employee satisfaction. So, okay. So by contrast, there were 3 workplace factors that fall to the bottom of the list as least important predictors of satisfied employees in every country. Work-life balance, although that is a big thing people talk about today with this generation, when measured against, not that it's not important, but when measured against other factors, it did not prove to be as important to people when given a survey of multiple things. Compensation and benefits, surprisingly, not as important. And business outlook of the organization. So like, where's the company headed? So culture and values, senior leadership, and the quality of that. And then career opportunities is more important than work-life balance, compensation and benefits, and business outlook, according to the survey that Glassdoor did. Across different industries, some workplace factors matter more to employees than others. Government employees are less likely to prioritize work-life balance among the factors they studied. Nonprofit employees are less likely to prioritize compensation. You work for a nonprofit, you know you're going into it you're going to make less money. Education employees, which include many school teachers, are less likely to prioritize compensation and benefits. No one becomes a college professor to get rich. By gender, the workplace factors that matter most to employees are similar. However, they did find that female employees in the US on average are more likely to prioritize work-life balance, while male employees are more likely to prioritize compensation and benefits and career opportunities. So there you go. But they said the differences are quite small. So they did an analysis, a database, millions of employee reviews from around the world. So this is a pretty deep study. And when you're looking at research, the bigger the test, the test pool, the more reliable your results are. If they had only studied, 10 companies in each country, you would have, it might still be true, but it's hard to prove with less data. So data is important. But basically they asked, each review asks employees several detailed aspects of work, career, opportunities, compensation, benefits, culture and values, senior leadership, work-life balance, and business outlook. In this analysis, we examine which of these 6 workplace factors are the strongest predictors. Okay, so they gave them all different rating. And here you go. In the US, strongest predictors of employee satisfaction. There are 3 main drivers in the US: culture and values of a company. Okay, and we've been talking about, we've started to talk about how important that is. Culture and values of the company are the strongest, 22% of the pie chart. Quality senior leadership, which we referred to this a little earlier, 21%, and career opportunities, 19%. By contrast, 6-month business outlook for the organization was small, work-life balance was small, compensation and benefits were small. That's surprising. I thought compensation and benefits would have turned out to be a lot bigger number. So when looking at what engages employees, money is not the biggest thing. Money is actually in the bottom. When given other choices, money is not as high. Here you go. You can see the graph that goes with that. Compensation benefits was the lowest of the things to compare to. Culture and values was the highest. And what this communicates is, generally, people want to work for someone where they believe in what that place stands for. So it doesn't mean that what they're doing is necessarily philanthropic or a nonprofit, or that they're, rescuing children from starvation or something that is just so meaningful. It could be that they're selling Cadillacs, but to work there, they want to value what Cadillac values. If they are working for an orphanage, they want to value what the orphanage values. Compensation and benefits, although it's not that it's not an issue, people want to make money, it's just compared to the other issues, it was the least of the issues. Surprising. The UK, though, although it looks like pretty much the same, just compensation and benefits and work-life value switched, but the culture and values and senior leadership were in the same positions, and career opportunities, same. Let's see, where's this? France. Culture, values, senior leadership, career opportunities, again. Let's see, Germany. Senior leadership, number 1. Culture and values, number 2. Career opportunities. So that's the only one where it really changed. And then, of course, compensation benefits moved up the list slightly in Germany. Canada. Culture and values back up at the top, just like the US, senior leadership, and then compensation benefits back at the bottom. So Canada, US stays about the same. Workplace culture in industries like retail and food service often very different from industries like technology and consulting, okay? So when they looked at 23 US industries and calculated how different each industry is from the overall average, which factors matter most in employee satisfaction, overall they found the factors that are the most important in employee satisfaction are similar in most industries. So you would think maybe people that are attracted to manufacturing for work would be different than people attracted to retail or food, but it seems like they have similar motivations. So here you go. Government would be green, and then the US overall. So still, it's the same basic outline. It's just how important. So culture and values to government workers was number 1. And it was also number 1 to non-government workers, just at a greater rate for the government workers. Same thing with number 2. Senior leadership was number 1 to government and non-government workers, career opportunities. So the only place where you see difference is business outlook. So whatever the government departmental outlook would be, because not really quite a business, was greater importance than work-life balance or compensation and benefits, where business outlook and then work-life balance and compensation. So really, mathematically, almost a dead heat on these things. Workplace factors that matter most to employee satisfaction for nonprofit folks, compensation and benefits is the lowest in both. And senior leadership even trumps just barely on the government workers, senior leadership, or for nonprofit workers, senior leadership is slightly more important than culture and values. But still, when you're only 1 percentage point off, I mean, that's really close. Education employees, culture and values, number 1, senior leadership, number 2. Again, you're basically seeing what this has proven is that people in America, and really all Western cultures, all value basically the same things. What they want is they want to work somewhere that they believe in what the company stands for and what the company thinks is important. They also want to have leaders that they can trust. They also want to have an opportunity not to be stuck. So those 3 things, universally, the top 3 things in all sectors, in all of these countries that they measured. And although it's not unimportant, it's still important to people, but the least important factor is compensation or business outlook, depending on which sector you're looking at. So very interesting. I know it might be kind of boring me just reading it to you, but there you go. Let's look at this other study real quick. So I had the privilege in the early 2000s to work for a Fortune 500 company. And we were, the year I worked there, I think they had been on the top 10 Fortune best companies to work for like 8 or 10 years in a row, something like that. But I worked for a company, and I think they show up on this list. We'll see. I didn't scan through all the names, but I thought I saw their name on the list. So according to Forbes magazine, which this is their thing. I mean, they study businesses and they look at trends, and then it's a very coveted position to end up on this list if you have a company. So this is also going back to Glassdoor. So over here, this was a Glassdoor study. This also refers to a Glassdoor study. I think one of these actually ties to the other with the link. Workplace with a clear mission, connecting employees' daily work to broader social purpose and positive change. So people like to work for companies that have a bigger mission than just making money. High quality senior leaders that are inspiring, set a clearly defined pathway for career advancement. So this is based on the same study, just looking at it a little different. 9 big cultural values that a company should have: agility, collaboration, customer, diversity, execution, innovation, integrity, and performance, and respect. So these are all things that they really say these are the most important things that define cultural values in a company. So let's look and see what are the top 5 large companies that Forbes says people just love working for. Let's see here. Microsoft, Zoom, especially now, plus all those people are probably very wealthy after this year. ADP, this is the company I worked for, automated data processing. Google, that's not a surprise. Google is famous for having a very a corporate culture that attracts people that like that kind of culture. HubSpot, this is a company we're going to start teaming up with to offer some micro certifications. So you might see a few things pop up in your internship badges that are attached to HubSpot. I had never even heard of it till this year, but they're a wonderful company. And Weave HQ, this is a mid to small company, so I've never heard of Weave HQ before. Let's see, HighSpot, Seismic, SalesLoft, and Greenhouse Software. Best company culture. So these are the top 50 ranked large ones, as we already got the first 5, but you got some of these other smile brands, Costco, T-Mobile's in there, LinkedIn's in there, Southwest Airlines, HEB, if you're from Texas, that is a grocery store chain, LogMeIn, Sage. Let's see here, any others that we recognize? Facebook, Sports Clips. I don't know if you've ever been to Sports Clips. Some of the people like working there, and some of them like to throw shade, but that's okay. Deloitte, big accounting firm. Apple is in the top 50. Capital One's in the top 50. Chipotle, GoDaddy, Wells Fargo, Starbucks rounds out, and Geico round out the top 50. So again, it's a coveted position to show up on this list as a big company. Those are the ones we'd be most familiar with, are the big companies. So I think that it's important to understand how companies function on this. I'm going to unshare my screen now so that we can kind of wrap up this. So it's important to understand what makes companies great, right? So you're studying right now some obscure companies. Most of them, except for maybe Lululemon, was maybe one of the only recognizable logos on that list. And I think Joe picked that one. But as you study these, it's going to take you, you need to read a few articles about these companies. Don't just read just their website, but their website should get you started on what is important to them. But you should be able to find other research that helps identify, why do people like working there? What is great about that company? You might not be able to find any direct interviews, I don't know, about the company, but maybe you can find some news articles about initiatives that they've had, or where have they shown up in the news. So definitely worth it. You know, working at great places, you know, it's easy to focus on the big companies because they are the ones that have the most information out there, right? But there's some good small companies to work for. Not a sponsor yet. But you imagine, let me wrap it up with this. If you started a company, what would you want your employees to say about you and your corporate culture? So that's the question for you. And I'm going to create a short assignment to go with this video. And the question is, what would you want your employees to say about you? If you started a company, let's do this. Come up with a dream company. What kind of company would you start? If you could start a company, what would it be? You know, you make, you hand knit socks, you know, for kittens. And so it's the kitten mitten company. And what would you want the employees of the kitten mitten company to say about you, your corporate culture, why they like working there? What would you want? Because you need to put yourself in the shoes of those that start and own businesses as you think through this process, because the culture that you help create obviously is something that enhances or detracts from your testimony for the Lord as a leader in the world. And this goes beyond just good management skills. This really tells a lot about your integrity and your character. So what would you want? So create the company. Give me the title. Humor is appreciated. What the company does. And what would you want your employees to say about why they like working there? What's so great about your company? What is it about the culture there? All right. And let's make this like list the name of the company. What does the company do? A little short explanation, could be a sentence or two. And then a paragraph on what would you want, answering this question, what would you want your employees to say about the culture and about what's so great about working there, okay? And that's due on Friday as well. Thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully this was not too rough. I apologize for any lack of quality in this. This is my first time doing a video like this for this class. So we'll refine this a little more in the future, but hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it also helps you in your research on the organization that you were assigned last week. And I look forward to talking about this on Friday. Thank you.